Welcome to the lecture on the gastrointestinal system. The gastrointestinal system, also known as the GI system, consists of the digestive tube and its accessory organs. The digestive tube is a tubular structure by which food is taken into the body and digested. The digestive tube consists of the mouth, the pharynx, the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, and large intestine. The order in which you see them in this slide is the order in which food goes through the digestive tube. The accessory organs include the teeth, tongue, salivary glands, liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. Let's talk about the intestines first. There are two types of intestine, the small intestine and the large intestine. The small intestine is approximately 20 feet long and is divided into three sections: the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. The duodenum is the shortest part of the small intestine, and its main function is chemical in nature to neutralize the contents from the stomach. The duodenum joins the stomach to the jejunum. The jejunum's main function is breakdown. It breaks down proteins to amino acids, carbohydrates to simple sugars, and fats to fatty acids from enzymes that are secreted from the pancreas and liver. The ileum's main function is to absorb bile salts and vitamin B12. The cecum is the start of the large intestine and is a dead-end pouch that has the appendix attached to it. The cecum then goes into the ascending colon. The ascending colon is located on the right side of the abdomen and ascends up toward the liver to join the transverse colon. The transverse colon transverses the abdominal cavity to join the descending colon on the left side of the abdominal cavity. The descending colon then descends downward to join the sigmoid colon. The sigmoid colon then leads to the rectum and the anus. The intestines are organized generally in four layers: the mucosa, the submucosa, the muscularis externa, and the serosa, which is also known as the visceral peritoneum. The mucosa is the innermost layer and is further divided into three layers. The innermost layer is the simple columnar epithelium with microvilli. The microvilli are finger-like projections that increase the surface area of the inner surface of the intestine to aid in absorption of vital nutrients. The second layer or middle layer is called the lamina propria. This is composed of loose connective tissue, capillaries, and lacteals. Lacteals are a form of lymph vessel. The third layer is the muscularis interna. This is composed of smooth muscle that aids in the mixing of the intestinal contents. The submucosa is the second layer in the general organization of the intestines, and it is composed of loose connective tissue. The third layer is the muscularis externa, which we will talk about in more detail in the next slide. And then the outermost layer of the intestine in general organization is the serosa, also known as the visceral peritoneum. The muscularis externa consists of two layers of smooth muscle: the inner circular layer and the outer longitudinal layer. The stomach actually has a third outermost layer and is the oblique layer. The main function of the muscularis externa is to push food toward the anus via rhythmic squeezing contractions called peristalsis. The muscularis externa has an intrinsic innervation, which is also known as the enteric nervous system. The muscularis externa also receives innervation from the autonomic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system slows down the contraction of the smooth muscle, whereas the parasympathetic nervous system speeds up the contraction of the smooth muscle. The parasympathetic terminal ganglia are located between the two layers of smooth muscle in the muscularis externa. This is considered the brain of the gut. Pause the lecture to draw in the general organization of the intestines. The innermost layer, the mucosa, second layer, submucosa, third layer, muscularis externa, and the layer, the serosa. Also note that the mucosa has its three layers, the simple columnar epithelium with microvilla, the lamina propria, and the muscularis interna. Now let's talk about the esophagus. The esophagus is a tube through which food passes from the pharynx to the stomach. It is located behind the trachea and heart and passes through the diaphragm to get to the stomach. The esophagus is composed of skeletal and smooth muscle. The superior one-third of the esophagus is composed of skeletal muscle. The middle one-third is mixed, and the inferior one-third is composed of smooth muscle. Some fun factoids for you to know is that dogs have all skeletal muscle, rats and horses have all smooth muscle. With all smooth muscle, one is then not able to vomit. Now let's talk about the glands of the GI tract. Remember that glands are single cells or large organs that secrete a substance. In the gastrointestinal system, there are many single-celled glands that secrete mucus, hydrochloric acid, and digestive enzymes. There are also two main categories of large organs in the GI tract. One is the salivary glands and the other is the pancreas. There are three salivary glands named the parotid gland, sublingual gland, and the submandibular gland. The pancreas is an outgrowth of the duodenum. The pancreas is an outgrowth of the duodenum and is located behind the stomach. It has both an exocrine and endocrine function. Remember that exocrine means that the gland secretes its substance through ducts, whereas endocrine means that it secretes its substance through or directly into the bloodstream. So the pancreas secretes its digestive enzymes through ducts to the stomach. It also has areas on the pancreas called islets of Langerhans, which are areas of the pancreas that contain the endocrine function. And this portion of the pancreas produces insulin and glycagon, which then is secreted directly into the bloodstream from the pancreas. The liver is a vital digestive organ and is an outgrowth of the duodenum. There are four lobes of the liver: the right lobe, the left lobe, the caudate lobe, and the quadrate lobe. The main functions of the liver include making bile, which emulsifies fat and is stored in the gallbladder. The liver also is involved in detoxification through the enzymes that it produces. It also stores glycogen and fat and synthesizes cholesterol. This is important as the liver or cholesterol is used for the cell membranes, steroid hormones, and for normal development. The liver also synthesizes and secretes protein. Let's talk about the blood supply of the GI tract. There are three large branches that supply blood to the GI tract that come off of the abdominal aorta. The first is the celiac trunk that gives blood supply to the stomach, the superior mesenteric artery that supplies blood to the small intestine and part of the large intestine, and the inferior mesenteric artery that supplies blood to the remainder of the large intestine. The hepatic portal vein is the vein that connects the GI tract to the capillary beds within the liver. The portal system consists of two capillary beds connected by the vein. All the blood from the GI tract capillary beds empties into the hepatic portal vein, which goes to the capillary beds of the liver for detoxification. The blood from the GI tract does not go into the systemic circulation prior to going into the liver. The blood then leaves the liver and enters into the inferior vena cava, which then goes up to the heart. Pause the lecture to draw in the general portal system as well as the connection between the gastrointestinal system, the liver, and the heart. Include the inferior vena cava as well as the hepatic portal vein. Note that blood from the heart will go to the GI tract, but the veins then go to the liver, or connect to go to the liver for detoxification before it empties into the inferior vena cava to the heart. Now let's go over a few pathologies of the GI system. Hepatitis is the inflammation of the liver and is most commonly caused by a viral infection. There are 5 kinds of hepatitis caused by viral infection. They are classified as hepatitis A, B, C, D, and E. Cirrhosis of the liver is when liver cells are destroyed and replaced by fibrous connective tissue. The liver then enlarges and cannot function normally. The most common causes of cirrhosis are hepatitis and alcohol abuse. Jaundice is the yellow staining appearance of the skin, which is caused by excessive bilirubin. The liver enzymes break down bilirubin and excrete it in the bile. Jaundice is caused by an excessive rate of red blood cell destruction and or the inability to break down bilirubin. An appendicitis is an infection of the appendix. If the appendix is ruptured, there can be a life-threatening condition called peritonitis.